Hey there, this is Dorian, and in this video I'm going to take you through the process of creating a digital portrait sketch from a life model. Here's my workstation with the model behind. This was done at Barcelona Academy of Art. And I don't have a picture of the model himself, so I'm just going to put my finished image up on the screen here, so you have something to compare to. Now the first step here is the block-in. For this I keep my lines light, keep the strokes pretty broad, and I'm just going for the main shapes, the big shapes. I'm not really measuring anything, I'm measuring with my eye, and I'm just going for the gesture, the big lines, big shapes. I like to put in the shadows right from the start when I'm working digitally like this, and this helps me to see the light shapes and the shadow shapes, and I can judge the proportional relationships better if I have both. You see, it's pretty simple. And really important, keep those lines light, low contrast. The more confident you get about your lines, the more accurate they become, the darker you can go. So that's what I'm starting to do here at the top of the head. I'm getting a pretty good sense of where those lines should go. And then in the nose as well. I am articulating the lines, making things more specific, especially where they matter a lot, where the position of the line matters a lot, which is in the features. I didn't know starting out if this was going to be a full figure or just a portrait, and then about 2/3 through I decided there was not going to be enough time to do the full figure, and I just focused in on the portrait. Next I realized that I wanted the lines to be separate, on a separate layer. So here I am adjusting the levels, getting rid of the background basically, so only the lines are visible. And then turning that layer with the lines into a multiply layer, having a dark background layer, and this layer 2 you see is going to have my color information. Starting with skin tones, just put some color down. It's going to be in orange probably, somewhere between red and yellow. This first guess I put down was too yellow, but you have to put something on the canvas so you can judge. So don't be afraid, just make something up, or pick if you're working digitally, put it on the canvas and compare to the model. I corrected my choice, going more towards red. And here for the middle section of the face, I'm going even more into the red and even higher on the chroma or saturation. The shadows were pretty red, pretty hot. I think I exaggerated it a bit here, and I took it back. And what else? I'm darkening the background a bit to increase the contrast because the background behind the model was pretty dark. And then for the body, just broad strokes, overall colors, just to give me something to work with. And you may notice throughout the video there are sped up sections. I don't paint this quickly, but the whole painting took about an hour and a half, so I speed up parts of the video to save you some time. I try not to skip anything. I don't like that when I watch videos that all of a sudden a whole part of the painting has been resolved and I didn't see how. But I will try to save you some time and let certain parts of the process just play a bit faster. Here I'm resolving the eye a bit, and I like to sort of lead with a certain part of the image. So here that would be the face, the facial features. I develop those parts of the whole painting more than anything else. So they are always a step ahead of the rest. And it's partly to keep me entertained and excited, but also to kind of pull along the other areas of the image that are not as resolved. Once I hit a really nice eye or nose, I want to get the rest also up to that level of detail or of beauty or whatever it is of interest. Here comes the ear, first the general shape of it and the general color of it, and then the shadow shape. And in the ears, I think ear, noses, cheeks, joints also, elbow or fingers, you can really push the saturation, the chroma. That's a pretty intense color in that ear, but it works, it's fine. The danger is more to make things too gray in those areas. Okay, so I've been working with one layer for a while now, and I wanted to play with some variations for the background. So I'm selecting my painting, my portrait, and using the quick mask tool here. And then press Command J to copy the selection onto a new layer. And then insert another layer for the background, which allows me to experiment to my heart's content without worrying about destroying anything I've done with the portrait itself. I'm now creating a few passages by blending the background color into the figure, behind the ear there, a little bit in the neck. This creates a nice fusion between the portrait and the background, and it's integrating the figure in the environment. Next, I'm adding a bit more information, refining the drawing. I'm still undecided about how much I will include. Tempted to do the whole figure, to push for it, stretch for it, with the time remaining. But I'm keeping it loose and sketchy. I think at that point I already have a hunch that I won't get to everything. I'll have to focus my attention. So I'm going for big shapes here, general colors, and then focusing in on the face, developing that most important part of the image further. Maybe you notice me zooming out. This is a habit I picked up from the academic studies. Always get distance from the work. Step back physically to counteract the tendency to be sucked into the small details. At this point, I was starting to feel pretty good about the colors overall, the drawing, the shapes, and I'm starting to put in the highlights, the specular reflections that help make skin look like skin. And I'm trying to be effective, so adding the least amount possible while still getting the idea across. And here again, I want to play with the background. You don't always have to make a new layer. Sometimes a simple mask is all you need. Here's the quick mask again, and I'm staying on the same layer, just trying to darken the background and see if I can make the head pop a bit more. So the purpose of this video is just to show you one possible way of working. And this is the same method you could use if you're working from a photo reference, but with the live model, you have the additional benefit of things changing slightly between poses, but also during the pose. Maybe you see a little bit more of the far side of the head, and it's actually much more interesting or beautiful. So you can adjust your drawing up to a certain point to make a better image. Whereas if you have a photo reference, you're just stuck with that. Also, a live model will give you a much richer experience in terms of color, probably in terms of value, and I just find it much more fun and entertaining. So I'd like to encourage you to draw and paint from life. Ask a friend, ask a sibling, ask your mom, paint a stranger, doesn't matter. But look at real nature. Your work will improve a lot. Okay, so now comes the time where I have to decide how much of this I can get done in the remaining 1 or 2 sittings. And I'm trying to visualize my cropping by first just drawing a frame on top and then creating a layer that's just a dark gray and leaving a window cut out of that layer. So I can still adjust the window size, and I'm not cropping the document itself. So it leaves me some flexibility. I can make it a little bit bigger, a little bit smaller. And I end up playing here actually with coming outside of the frame, which was totally unplanned, but a lot of fun. I just felt like the figure was ending too abruptly, so I'm adding these marks to soften the transition between the body and the outside of the frame. This is also where I can have a bit of fun with mark making, creating some different textures, some different strokes, to have a broader range of different marks in the whole image. And then coming back to the face, and I'm now entering the final stage, looking for things that are not clear, resolving, explaining more of the structure, adding missing information, things that are still too abstract, and kind of bringing it all together as well as I can. I'm emphasizing some of the plane changes, explaining the form, and here comes a bit of texture for the hair. That was quite subtle, but I'm glad I did it. I think it was a good addition. Right, let's take a look at the different levels that this has gone through. After the lines, I put in the big colors, main shapes, main forms, then refined all of that a bit. Wasn't sure how my cropping would be, and here I decided it's just going to be the portrait, and now I'm refining and adding the last touches. I liked that the back eye was very abstract, but it was missing a bit too much, so I'm adding that here, keeping it soft and out of focus. And if you look at the forehead, see how it's all very smooth, kind of plasticky. So I'm going in there and adding some of the smaller plane breaks, a bit more sharp edges, a bit more definition to make it more lifelike. Then touching up the earrings and giving a bit more contrast to the shadows. When I was looking at the model, there was just a bit more punch to it. And here comes probably my favorite part, hair. There's not too much in this model, but there's the eyebrow and there's the beard. And I have this brush that I love. It's kind of abstract. And I'm adding a few accents in the background. And really scanning across the whole image and seeing what needs to be a bit more loud, what needs to be a bit more quiet. This is all composition. And with experience, as you look at more things in the real world, you study paintings, you study drawings, you study nature, those things are going to call out to you. They're going to catch your attention. And with practice, you will know what they need, what you need to do. So we're approaching the end here. I hope this has been helpful. If you've been curious about working from life with a digital setup, it's really not that different from using traditional media. So I would say just go for it. Just give it a try and let me know how it goes. Here is the final result. Wish I had more time, but this is what I got done in 1 hour and a half. I hope you enjoyed. Take care.